I'd like to welcome everyone to Boulder City City Council meeting. Appreciate you being here. We will start our meeting by having confirmation of the posting and roll call. Madam City Clerk, is everybody here? And did we post everything?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The agenda was posted in accordance with Nevada open meeting law, and all members are present.
Thank you. We will now stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be offered by Cynthia Olson, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Thank you.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We are grateful to assemble today, this evening, to gather as a community under this framework of the City Council. We're indeed blessed to live in this nation and are grateful for the opportunity and freedoms that we enjoy. We pray for our community, Father, that we may be blessed, that we may have love in our hearts and unity, that we may serve one another and uplift and be kind to one another. We pray that we may be able to help those who are struggling, that we may uplift them. We're thankful for our leaders, for all those who put forth their efforts and time, and pray for them that they may do so in good conscience, that they may be able to serve us well. We pray for our armed forces. We pray for our military and the police officers that serve our community, that thou would protect them. We love thee, Father, and we are grateful unto thee for all that we have, and pray that thou would bless us with peace and joy here in this meeting today. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Olson. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. On our agenda, we have public announcements. At this time, I have an announcement. During the last meeting that we had public comment period that took place at the July 11th City Council meeting. An allegation was made that City Council violated the open meeting law. I personally called the Attorney General's office to seek clarity and assurance. The city attorney has this to say about the alleged violation after receiving input from the Attorney General's office. Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Agenda item 17 at the July 11th City Council meeting had the following topic for possible action: discussion and direction regarding a contract option moving forward for the expiring hangar ground leases. During the meeting, I was discussing some of the leases that are expiring at the end of September, and I described them as building leases. They are, in reality, ground leases rather than building leases. This was a misstatement. Accordingly, no violation of open meeting law occurred. However, even if the topic strayed from that topic that was agendized, the open meeting law provides a remedy. Simply place the topic on the agenda at the next meeting with the words corrective action. The open meeting law strives to ensure that the public receives notice of all matters being discussed, but as is natural with discussion, it can get off topic. The open meeting law addresses this by providing this avenue. In this circumstance, no corrective action is needed.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Thus, there was no open meeting law violation, but the public can rest assured that the City Council would not deliberate or take action on any item unless it has been properly agendized, and we appreciate your patience. Thank you. We will now go to public comment. All those who are wishing to have public comment, please come forward, and those who would be on the phone, please call in. And is there any written public comment, Madam City Clerk?
Yes, nobody is, I think there's interested parties.
We'll have
In the chamber.
public come first, and then you can read the one that has written in. If you can identify yourself, and then you
Okay.
may proceed.
Okay. Hi, my name's Bryn Delormier. I live at 660 Avenue F, and I'm just commenting on agenda item number 22 for the Historic Preservation Commission. I just wanted to say I submitted an application, and I believe I know all of you and have talked to you many times, and thank you for taking my application. And to anybody that doesn't know me, I live here in the Historic District. I've been a resident for just over 2 years now. I passed my 2-year anniversary on July 13th, so I'm excited to apply. Actually, the one person who vacated their seat, Charlie Hauntz, has been nagging me to apply ever since, and I said, well, I have to pass my 2 years first. So now that I have, I'm excited to apply. I've been renovating historic homes for over 2 decades, so it's a passion of mine. And happy to help this district with a couple of ideas that I've had that I've talked to the Historic Preservation Commission about. I've had some of them over to my home to see the improvements that I've made inside. And a couple of the residents that I've talked to in my neighborhood who I think, as a couple of you know, I've had trouble finding contractors to do proper licensed work on historic homes here. And at the same time, a lot of my neighbors who are younger, for example, one of my neighbors is a 23-year-old. He just turned 21 when I first moved here. He's a carpenter by trade. He was born and raised in his house here on my block. And he currently works in another city. He'd like to get his license here and work here. And it seems like we have a lot of people like that who have talent, who know these homes inside and out, the historic homes particularly, who just have a lot of issues with, they don't know the, I guess, procedures to get licensed. They're young, they're just starting out, and they get picked up by big contractors or big developers in Vegas or elsewhere. So I think it would be helpful if we could retain a lot of our talent here in Boulder City, and it would also help me as a homeowner to be able to hire those people. So that's one of many ideas that I've had. So I won't take up too much of your time, but appreciate your consideration. And I know there have been a lot of applicants, so good luck to everybody, and thank you all for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have a member on the phone.
Okay.
Public comment, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. For the record, Fred Volz. SCA Design's latest municipal swimming pool complex cost estimates present some troubling information and the potential for alternative paths forward that need consideration. The last public numbers issued indicate the city has diverted roughly $13 million for this project, or only slightly more than 1/3 of the latest cost estimate. Of course, the design firm is not a contractor submitting a bid, nor will the city be able to proceed with the project in the foreseeable future unless it goes into debt with a bond issue. The construction costs of this complex are rising rapidly, outstripping the city's ability to save sufficient funds, especially if the proceeds of Tract 350 are not realized. Money going to a new pool complex siphons money from other unfunded capital projects of a greater priority to more of the city's residents. In addition, the size and scope of the proposed pool complex might be appropriate for Henderson, but not Boulder City, population 15,000, with almost 1,000 private swimming pools and a small fraction of residents using the municipal pool. Perhaps we should consider a few alternatives serving the broader population's best interests. We could shutter the existing and very decrepit pool, demolish it altogether, thus saving the city considerable expense and over 12 million gallons of water consumption annually. The $13 million could be redirected to fixing our streets or some other unfunded need that has been ignored. Boulder City could then use a portion of the significant operating expenses to pay a negotiated wholesale price at Henderson's Black Mountain Pool for Boulder City residents and swim team members. Consideration might also be given to establishing some sort of shuttle service in the mode of the Silver Rider on a regularly scheduled basis between BC and Black Mountain if requested by enough swimmers. Perhaps another alternative would be to build a single swimming pool without all the bells and whistles that fits within the $13 million available. We do not need a second splash pad since there is an underutilized one at Veterans Memorial Park already. If a new pool is constructed, what guarantees will be put in place that it will not be allowed to deteriorate into an unsalvageable state over a mere 40 years, as has occurred with the existing pool facility because of ignored maintenance? By the time Boulder City has the money for this pool complex and issues the request for proposal, it will easily cost $50 million to build. $50 million divided by 15,000 residents means each resident will be contributing over $3,300, plus ongoing operating costs, plus interest if borrowed money is used to benefit a very small subsection of the population. And I would ask that these comments be added to the record verbatim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rod Woodbury, for the record. I believe I'm still item number 20. I'm here on behalf of the Boulder City Airport Association, and there may be others here that I represent, a group of about 50 hangar owners. I will have a short PowerPoint presentation, about 9 slides, if you'll indulge me for that. Less than 10 minutes, I think, when it comes to the agenda item. And then also, just with respect to the open meeting law issue that was just raised at the start of this meeting, I'm glad there was clarification on that. As you know, those were characterized as, by the city staff as hangars that had reverted to the city, and they were raised at for the first time at that meeting. And so since they're not that, if they're just ground leases, that changes things, no harm, no foul. It's good that you corrected that for the record, and I'm glad that happened. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other present that would like to talk in open meeting, in public comment? Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Thomas Member for the record, 1310 Capri Drive. Commenting on agenda item 21. Very glad to see the city and the Teamsters come to an agreement finally after a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any written or anyone on the phone line?
Yes, I have several written comments. The first comment was submitted by Lois Donat. I oppose Bill number 1963 for possible action matters pertaining to a zoning ordinance text amendment, public hearing on a proposed zoning ordinance text amendment, and an ordinance of the City of Boulder City to amend Title 11 of the City Code, Chapter 1, Chapter 6, and Chapter 7 to allow for tiny homes for the following reasons. 1. People that buy or rent mobile homes in mobile home parks or in a mobile home estate zone, the owner owns the land and mobile home, do not want tiny homes being built next to them in empty lots. Tiny homes are great in their own zoned area for vacation homes, retirement homes, B&Bs, etc., not in an area zoned for mobile homes. 2. Tiny homes are easily built and made mobile so they can be brought in and out like an RV, trailer, etc. I believe it would be good to establish a zoning only for tiny homes here in Boulder City, Nevada. This would expand availability of affordable homes for low-income and middle-income buyers. This would attract more people to move to Boulder City. Next comment was submitted by Ashley Perry. This is also in regards to the consideration of Bill number 1963. I would like to voice my opinion on this matter. As a Nevada native, I have lived, visited, and been part of the Boulder City community in one way or another since I was a child. I played soccer here, and my dad was the assistant postmaster. My sister worked here and now lives here with her family of 5. My mom attends church here, and all of us support the local businesses. Home prices are so high in Boulder City, and even the condos are expensive for the majority of millennials and Gen Z. There is a lack of updated apartments in Boulder City as well, and rent just keeps going up. For those of us who grew up here or love this community, tiny homes are a great way for younger generations to live in affordable housing and raise new generations. Most of the single-family homes here are nearly $500,000 and far too large for a single-person couple or a small family to maintain and pay for utilities. Tiny homes offer affordable living in just the right amount of space. Allow the next generation the American dream and pass this proposal, and allow tiny home communities in Boulder City. Next comment was submitted by Veronica Gilroy. This is regarding tiny homes in mobile home parks. If tiny homes are permanently affixed like our mobile homes, wheels, chassis, and tongue removed, then I wouldn't object since there aren't many tiny home communities. Prefer that they have their own section since integrating them would appear odd. Mobile homes are longer, would look odd for tiny homes next to a mobile home. Also, will they be container homes or stick-built, or what other type and size? What is the definition of a tiny home for this meeting? I watch tiny home shows on HGTV, and buses and storage containers have been converted to tiny homes. Stick-built can be 200 square feet to 600 square feet. Can't be RVs. Tiny homes on wheels may be better fit in RV parks. They also have been put on owner's land, lots of variables. If they are still on the chassis and wheels with tow tongue, then these need to have a tiny home park area or in an RV park if they are designated to hook up to your truck and go elsewhere. Next comment was submitted by Fred Horvath regarding item number 21. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I apologize that I am unable to address you in person this evening and ask for your approval of this resolution and the associated 2022 through 2025 supervisory agreement. We appreciate the efforts of the city's bargaining committee led by City Manager Taylor Tedder and City Attorney Brittany Walker, and look forward to continuing the collaborative efforts that produce this collective bargaining agreement. Next comment was submitted by Amanda Farrar. Hello, regarding agenda item 22 for tonight's meeting, I would like to reaffirm the importance of new members of the Historic Commission actually residing in our historic district. I own a house in the historic district. I vote. I want people who also live in the district on our historic commission. Next comment was submitted by Matthew Guymond. I'm a resident of the historic district. I support Bryn DeLorimer's application for the Historic Preservation Commission, and I vote. Thank you. Next public comment was submitted by Matthew DeTeresa. I am writing today in support of Bryn DeLorimer's appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. She owns a home in the historic district, and I believe that she supports the goals of the commission. She is intelligent, articulate, and has demonstrated her commitment to the historic preservation by her appearance and comments at city council meetings when the subject has been considered. I feel that Bryn would be a tremendous asset to the commission. Thank you for your time. The final written public comment was submitted by James Sheldon, and this is regarding appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. Please accept this message of support for the appointment of Bryn DeLorimer to the Boulder City Historic Preservation Commission. During the recent few months, I had the opportunity to work directly with Ms. DeLorimer on a project to address the homelessness issue in Boulder City. Ms. DeLorimer was arguably the most energetic and passionate member of our group. She could be depended upon to attend every scheduled meeting as well as pursue related activities beyond the agendized items. Ms. Delaramore's prior experience includes organizational and leadership roles in neighborhood and civic functions. Most importantly, Ms. Delaramore cares about Boulder City in general and the Historic District in particular. I believe Ms. Delaramore would be an asset to Boulder City as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. And we have no other callers on the line.
Thank you. Anyone else in the city council chambers who would like to comment in public comment at this time? If there's no one on the line and we have read all the things. No one on the line.
No, no
Thank
one on
you.
the line, thank you.
And we will close public comment at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, we do have someone.
Sorry, I was a little late getting up there. For the record, James Adams. Good evening, council. I just wanted to just give you a little bit of background on me, though I think you all know me a little bit. I did put my name in, submit it for the Historic Preservation Commission. In addition to having served on the ad hoc committee, helping to draft the current ordinance that we have, I also attended most, if not all, of the Historic Preservation Town Hall meetings that we had held by the Nevada Historic Preservation Foundation. I also received certification and training through the city in historic preservation. So if there is any way that I can help by being on that commission, I'm happy to do so. Of course, if you feel there are others who will better fit that role, I am happy to see that as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that I've overlooked? On the phone or written or present? Thank you. I will close public comment at this point. And we will move to approval of the regular agenda.
I move to approve the regular agenda with the removal of items 15 and 19.
I'll second that.
The regular agenda has been approved with the exceptions of removing item 15 and 19. It has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. It has passed unanimously with the removal of 15 and 19. We will now move to the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any changes, Madam City Clerk?
No changes.
And council, any changes? I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed say nay. It has been approved unanimously for the consent agenda. We'll move to the first item of the regular agenda, number 10 on your agenda. And we have a presentation from the SCA Design people on the Aquatic Center. Mr. Carreri.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Jamie Carreri, Director of Public Works. I'd like to present to you Nicole Lohman of Business Development from SCA Design. Nicole will be showing you a short presentation of requested updated cost estimate for Task 2 Design Boulder City Aquatic Center. So, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to share this presentation with you this evening for the update. If I can have the PowerPoint. There you go. Thank you. So we were asked to update the task. So that gives a new cost estimate of what the pool would cost for current and what it cost previously. And I'm not sure that I know how to work this. Sorry.
Lisa, is it okay to?
Thank you. All right, so SCA Design is an architecture and interior design firm. We were approached a couple of years ago, back in 2021, to provide a cost estimate to either fix and remodel the current aquatic center and or set up for replacement of the current facility and pool. And so this is a rendering of what we would expect that a pool could look like if it were to move forward with a new design. Of course, this is just a preliminary design so that it could give us a cost basis for what we were asked to do. If you can change the slide. This would be an exterior look of the same. It was based on keeping with the look of the historic district here in Boulder City. And next slide will show a little bit about a floor plan that could be, a site plan that could be for this same facility. It would use the existing tennis courts, have an optional splash pad, use of the kids' pool, existing building, addition for new building, and a new recreation pool. You'll see on the next slide is the floor plan that kind of gives you a layout. But really, I think what we were really asked to do in this presentation this evening is on the next slide, and that is a cost comparison. So on the left side, you'll see in blue the estimate from 2021, and in green, the estimate for 2023. And with the state of the world economy, the economy here in the United States and specifically here in Boulder City, you're going to see quite a bit of a cost difference for the estimation. So on the top left, you'll see that it is a side-by-side comparison for a 40,000 square foot facility with an 8,600 square foot 35 meter pool and a 2,500 square foot rec pool. So that's a side-by-side comparison. In 2021, we were looking at a net cost of just over $15 million. And today, in 2023, we're looking at a net cost of $21 million. You'll see that inflation escalation has been added at 6% for 5 years. And that's a side-by-side. Design costs of 15%, construction management of 10%, and owner's contingency of 10%. So that brings the total much higher than the net cost. So an estimated cost of $27 million in 2021, and we're looking at closer to $36 million here in 2023. This is with the inflation, understanding that the estimate would be for the next 12 months that would prepare the city for any RFP process that would be necessary, and the inflation that's been estimated to go accordingly. Down below each of those numbers, you'll see options. These are options to either increase what the facility would have or decrease. So if we wanted to add a splash pad and use the current children's pool, the kids' pool, there would be an additional fee. If we wanted to substitute and reduce the cost of removing a 35-meter pool and actually putting in a 25-meter pool, then you'll see that that cost has been listed as well. If you wanted to add solar panels, we've added that number in as what that would do for the facility as well. And then if we wanted to convert the existing lockers into office space, which was what part of the original proposal was, there will be an added fee as well. So these numbers have been listed specifically as options so that the council and the community can decide what is the best fit. The reason we were approached based on the aquatic facility is because the current facility is aging past some of its useful life. Some of the facility is in a need for repair, and we're very much in support of whatever the council and the community would like to do. These are numbers that have been provided based on our research and cost estimation. happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Yes.
Just based on your research, you said, could you be a little bit more specific based on your research of cost of construction, on cost of oversight, I'm just wondering, it's large numbers. Clearly, I understand that there's inflation. It's just a large change. So I'm just wondering how you came to those numbers specifically.
Sure, be happy to answer that. So SCA Design, like I said, is a full-service architecture and interior design firm. And for this particular report, we partnered with Ryder Level Bucknell. It was a cost estimation. They provided the cost estimation, and Aquatic Design Group contributed based on the design and cost estimates for the pool itself. We worked with staff here in order to make sure that we had inflation escalation estimated at what they felt comfortable with as well. And as far as the design cost, construction management, and owner's contingency of what would be typical in an RFP competitive bid process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
On the solar, I know that you get back from the government a credit. Does the city get a credit back for putting solar on? Is there some offsetting of this solar on there?
This is strictly for design and construction of a facility, not what any rebates or running of a facility would cost the city.
Okay, so that's just, the 700,000 is strictly for design?
Design and install for the construction of.
And install and put the panels
Correct.
up? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
So this would be so they have a building and pools with solar panels installed.
So if there was some rebate, we'd have to go look for that and obtain that ourselves?
Yes, or that could be included as part of your RFP process for your construction contractor to include that as part of that competitive RFP.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? I take it you're somewhat of an expert.
I like to believe I'm an expert in a lot of things.
So that being said, we've heard recently that there were 1,000 public pools. And I'm wondering where those public pools are that aren't associated with the casino, that you have to be in the casino property in order to be used. Do you have a feel for how many public pools are out there that are truly public?
That was not my scope of services to provide. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared with that particular answer. I'm not sure where the data came from the public comment that came in. The number that was also addressed as far as the escalation of what the caller believed that number to be by the time it was fully developed. I don't know what the basis of that information is. What I do know and what I can speak on is the expert numbers that I've provided in this packet to you and council.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I was looking for some good news.
I think every day is good news.
Thank you.
The good news, I think, is that you have an offering to provide the city with a facility that will be around for the next 40 years. And the current facility needs some work. And there is question, based on our 2021 reports, of the best direction to go based on some of the aging and failing equipment at the time. We have not been out for reinspection of those items. That was not part of this particular scope, but another 2 years has passed since. And all I can say from that standpoint is we're really glad to see that there are quite a few people using the facility. And the reason that there are construction guidelines, codes for building and things like that are specifically so that you have ADA accessibility, you have safety within your buildings. Nobody is turned away because they can't get in or out of a facility. that you have the return and the cleanliness of the water that's required into your pools and things. And so from the standpoint of good news, I would say anytime that we look to do an upgrade on any type of building or facility, it's generally of benefit to the users and the city. How you go about and choose to use this facility will be based on what the community needs are.
Thank you. So you did say something about a 40-year, and how long have we had this present pool? And so it's lived its expected life expectancy?
During 2021, when we did the initial evaluation and we had multiple service providers come out, including mechanical, plumbing, electrical, pool design, landscape, architectural, there were quite a few failing components of the pool systems at that time. At that time, there were also some concerns as far as what may have been grandfathered in versus what would be acceptable in current code. And really what we're just here to do is support what your needs are in providing those cost estimates. Anything further would be a recommendation possibly to look at the 2021 report as far as what recommendations were made based on replacement versus fixing.
All right.
Your staff is doing a great job of keeping it functional.
That's the comment I was looking for. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming out and helping us. Any other questions? Concerns, discussion?
Mr. Mayor, please. I don't have any questions for our presentation, but wanted to express my enthusiastic support for finding the way to proceed with the replacement of the current facility. It will serve our community very well. It's been the swimming programs across the board from very young to aging has been an important part of our identity, an important part of our community culture. Unfortunately, the failure to act several years ago and the failure of the funding ballot question, which played into the delay, left us now with substantially smaller design for approaching the same cost that it was back when that initial design was presented. So that's the reality that we have to deal with. I recognize it's a substantial investment in the community, but it is an investment in our community and our people, and I'm very supportive of that. I realize we need to find the right funding and get it in place, but delaying any longer is just going to exacerbate the cost problem. So the sooner and more efficient we can proceed, I'm in support of that. Those are my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? And
I'd just like to also say that I'm in favor of being able to provide for our community a pool that is ADA available and also available to everyone in the community, like you just said. Now, looking at these costs, I mean, it does seem like a big pill to swallow, I'll say. So now it is on us to figure out a way to be able to get the funding for something that has been a pillar in our community and is currently deteriorating, and that is the facts, costing us more money because of the state that it's in. So I think we wait another 3 or 4 years, we could see another escalation, and it could be even higher. So I like the idea of building the pool. I like the idea of finding funding sources for it. So Mayor, get on that.
If I can add to your comment based on what a delay could cost, when we looked at a remodel and an upgrade to repair the current facility in 2021 and the pools, we were looking at a cost estimate of almost $7 million just in repairs that would be necessary to bring the current facility and pool up to code and repair. And that would be to meet building and health codes.
And that was 2021, so that's not even now.
No, that was 2021. That has not been escalated at all.
So
That was
would-
7 million just for repair and,
Okay, thank you.
And prices have gone up since then.
they have quite a bit.
When you say quite a bit, are you saying 3 million or 10 million or 15 million?
Well,
too?
looking at our cost estimate, if we go back to this slide, the 2021 cost estimate would have been approximately 27 million. And our 2023 cost estimate is approximately 36 million. So yes, it's gone up about 10 million.
Thank you, appreciate it. This being a non-action item, if there are no other questions, we appreciate you coming and
Thank you very
bringing
much.
us up to speed. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Carreri? Thank you. Thank you. Now move to item 11 on bill introductions, and we needed a move to introduce bill number 1964. Call for a motion and to introduce and waive the reading, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I will introduce Bill number 1964 and waive the reading except for title.
Thank you. And number 12.
I have to read the title, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Bill number 1964, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City, Nevada, to amend Title 11 of the City Code, Section 11-23-2.d, regarding parking requirements for restaurants and similar uses, AM-23-367. This matter will be considered at the 22nd day of August, 2023 City Council meeting.
Thank you. And we need introduction of bill similarly of 1965.
I'd like to introduce Bill number 1965, waive the reading except for title.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you. Bill number 1965, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City, Nevada, to amend the zoning map to rezone approximately 1,532 acres west of U.S. Highway 95 within the El Dorado Valley Transfer Area from GO Government Open Space to ER Energy Resource, AM 23-369. This matter will be considered at the 22nd day of August 2023 City Council meeting.
Thank you. And introduction, please, of 1966.
I'll introduce Bill number 1966 and waive the reading except for title.
Thank you. Bill number 1966, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City, Nevada, to amend the zoning map to rezone approximately 4.42 acres southwest of 1101 Elm Street from C2 General Commercial to GM Government Municipal, AM 23-368. This matter will be considered on the 22nd day of August 2023 City Council meeting.
Thank you. And introduction of bill number 1967, please.
I'll introduce Bill 1967 and waive the reading.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill number 1967, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City, Nevada, amending the Boulder City Municipal Code to repeal and replace Title 8, Health and Sanitation, Chapter 1, Public Nuisances, and enact a new Title I, Administration, Chapter 4, General Penalty, Section 1-4-6, titled Hearing Officers, Qualifications, Appointment, to provide for a civil enforcement process for public nuisances. This matter will be considered at the August 22nd, 2023 City Council meeting.
Thank you. And we have taken 15 off of the agenda, and we will move to number 16.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
we still have introduction. We're not doing introduction of that at all? Okay, thank you.
I did something that she didn't tell me to do, and I was right?
You were right, Mayor. I was wrong.
Say that again.
Oh, so we're still moving to 16.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Mays.
Good afternoon, Mayor Hardy, members of City Council.
The owners of 115 Casa Montana Court recently purchased city land adjacent to their home and consolidated it into their lot. To ensure that the former city land has consistent land use designation to the existing single-family home for both the master plan and the zoning map, the following amendments are being proposed. Resolution 7681 amends the master plan future land use map designation from open lands to low-density residential. You can see on the screen the change in the designation for the formal city-owned property. Moving to the next slide, please. Bill number 1961 amends the zoning from Government Park, GP, to R110 Single Family. And you can see that on the screen, the change in the zoning designation. This received unanimous Planning Commission support on June 21st and requires a public hearing. And with that, I can answer any questions. Any questions?
No.
Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Those who wish to speak here, come up to the podium, and those who wish to call in, call 702-589-9629. And are there any written comments?
No written comments were received.
Okay. Those who are here or on the phone, please either come forward or call. No one on the line, Madam City Clerk. I will close the public hearing and go to resolution number 7689. Need a motion and a second.
I move to approve resolution number 7681.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, is it possible that we could make this one motion and accepting the bill as well, or do we have to do them separate? Okay, thanks. That's all, the only question I had.
And any other comments? If not, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 7681. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. It's unanimous. Move now to consideration of bill number 1961. I would accept a motion from someone who's anxious to make it.
Move to approve Bill 1961.
Is there moved and seconded? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving bill number 1961 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion has passed unanimously. Thank you. The city clerk will inform the public of the ordinance number and the effective date.
Thank you. This bill will become known as ordinance number 1726, effective August 31st, 2023.
Thank you. We will now move to item 17. Mr. Mays. In order to proceed with approved solar and utility uses, staff is proposing amending the master plan and the zoning map for 783 acres in the El Dorado Valley. For your consideration is Resolution 7682, which would amend the master plan future land use map designation for this land from open lands to ER Energy Resources. And as you can see on the screen, as with the last example, it shows the existing land use designation and the proposed change. Also for your consideration is Bill number 1962. This would rezone this same land from Geo Government Open Space to ER Energy Resources. The designations are consistent with the uses to the north and east of this land, as can be represented on the map on the screen. This also received unanimous Planning Commission support on June 21st and also requires a public hearing, and I can answer any questions. Any questions? Thank you. We will open the public hearing on this matter and invite anyone who's here to come forward and have public comment, as it were, as well as anyone to call 702-589-9629 to call in and have comments during this public hearing. No written or anyone calling in?
No callers on the phone.
Thank you. I will then accept a motion, close the public hearing and accept a motion.
I have a question regarding the motion. Does it need to also cite the findings by the council?
It does not, because the findings are included in the ordinance
packet,
itself.
So that it's okay. Okay, I move to accept and pass resolution number 7682.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution number 7682. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion is passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move to consideration of bill number 1962. Is there a motion?
I move to approve Bill 1962.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion on consideration bill number 1962? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It is unanimous. Thank you. We will now move to number 18 on our agenda.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to note that this bill will become known as ordinance number 1728, effective August 31st, 2023.
Thank you. And we'll go then to 18 and Mr. Mays. During the 2021 Nevada legislative session, Senate Bill 150 was passed into law. This bill required municipalities to permit tiny homes within their zoning classifications by January 1st of 2024. A tiny home is defined as a residential dwelling that is 400 square feet or smaller, excluding lofts. In evaluating different methods to comply with the state law, the Planning Commission recommended amending Title 11, which is referred to as our zoning ordinance of the City Code, to permit tiny homes in the Mobile Home Park District and Mobile Home Estate District. Bill number 1963 provides for a text amendment that follows the Planning Commission and staff's recommendations. This also requires a public hearing whenever Title 11 is being amended, and I can answer any questions. Any questions? Go ahead.
I just have a question regarding, do we have a specific definition of what a tiny home, like what it has to look like? I just know there were some concerns earlier regarding that in public comment, and could it be up on wheels? Can it be? Do we have any specifics regarding that?
The Senate Bill 150 put into place provisions as to how tiny homes will be defined. It follows the definition that's in the International Building Code. And so the reference to the 400 square feet,
The intent is for these to be located on site as a permanent structure, as a residence. Anything that would be affixed with wheels, which would be considered a vehicle, that would be considered an RV.
Okay, and then also with the consideration of it being within the mobile home area, is this interspersed or its own area, are we thinking?
No, this would be just like mobile homes are permitted use within the mobile home parks, the tiny homes would be a permitted use.
And it could be anywhere within there?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Point of information, how small is our current mobile home that is in a mobile home space?
You know, I don't off the top of my head know what the typical mobile home square footage is. It's certainly larger than 400 square feet. You're going to be looking at something easily smaller than 2,000 square feet and maybe in the 1,200 square foot range.
The reason I ask is, I guess I'm not going to say who it was that lived in an 8 by 28 trailer when they first got married. And yes, it was small, and so that's kind of like 8 times 30 is like 240 square feet. Is that what that is? So it would be twice that size almost. But so yes, it's small, but not totally small, especially the ones I see when I travel around with the loft. They add probably half to a third of their square feet that's not counted in this ordinance, as I recall.
That is correct. The lofts are not included in the square footage.
So in our mobile home parks, is there a height variance or a height stipulation as how high the mobile home itself can be?
We have a general provision regarding height requirements within Boulder City, and it's 25 feet. I don't recall a provision exclusive to mobile homes.
Okay, so theoretically, if you doubled 400 square feet, it would be 800 square feet, but it'd be hard to have a loft that's more than that. Did they define what a loft is as far as the amount of square feet you're allowed to say is a loft?
In the International Building Code, there are definitions for lofts. I don't recall a provision that talks about the maximum square footage. But in essence, they wouldn't be able to double it with the loft. And pretty much with tiny homes, there are limitations on just how large, and that's why the building code definition maximizes that at 400 square feet.
So this will bring us into compliance with state law.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mays. Go ahead.
Did you say the loft is not included in square footage, though?
That is correct. It's excluded.
So the max is, how big is the max for a tiny home? Sorry, I know you said it.
Well, in the definition, it states specifically a tiny home is defined as a dwelling unit that does not exceed 400 square feet, excluding the loft area.
So if they doubled, it could be 800.
Well, that would require a loft that would include the entire second area. I don't think that those have been contemplated, but in essence, the tiny homes have a defined definition. It's tied to the building code. And so that is how we would regulate it, and we're obligated through the state law to follow that.
Okay, so it would be regulated through the building code?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other observations or questions? Go ahead.
I have a procedural question, Mr. Mays. Is it possible that any one of these parks that are located in these zones could enact an HOA restriction against that, or is that against state law? Is there any requirement then that they have to be allowed there because of the city ordinance? Or?
No, the only obligation through the state law is that we accommodate it through our zoning ordinance. The mobile home parks could prohibit
tiny homes from being located within their developments.
I guess the follow-up to that is then how does that put us in standing with the state law?
Because the state law doesn't require the mobile home park owners to accommodate it. It only requires that we allow for its regulation and use.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mays. So we will open up the public hearing on this particular issue. And Madam City Clerk, are there any letters? And we'll open up the phone line 702-589-9629 for any who would like to call in. So any who would like to come forward who are here in the chambers, come forward, identify yourself, and let us know how you feel. While you are deciding whether or not to come forward, we're going to take a short break of 9 minutes and 32 seconds, and then please come back.
I think we have to finish this.
We'll be in recess. What do I have to, can I do that?
We should finish the public hearing first. Yes. And you may want to,
Is there anyone called in?
nobody called in, and you may want to just ask for a motion for this item and then take a break before the next item.
Is there anybody here who would like to? And those who were going to call in have had time to do it, and there's nothing, and I will thus close the public hearing and consider Bill number 1963 as an ordinance.
I move to approve Bill 1963.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Thank you. And then when is the effective date?
This bill will become known as ordinance number 1726, effective August 31st, 2023.
And having said that, we will recognize that we have taken 19 from the agenda, and we will come back in now 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Thank you. In recess now. Thank you. Oh, this is what I like.
Louis Muscari.
You ready? Meeting will come back to order. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, we're on item number 20.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So as you know, there are 111 general aviation hangars currently on ground leases at the airport, and these ground leases do expire over the next 5 years. 3 dates in 2023 have ground leases expiring September 27th, October 27th, and November 6th of this year. And then there is an expiration September 20th of 2024, and then November 30th of 2028. On April 25th, 2023, the City Council granted a 6-month extension and approved that by ordinance of the different ground leases that were expiring sooner at the time. On July 11th, 2023, the City Council provided direction on many key terms for the expiring leases. That includes extension of the existing ground leases. And since this is a ground lease, the tenant is still responsible for maintaining their hangars on the leased land. The council also provided direction on a 10-year term with a 10-year option, an escalation clause of 2 to 6% per year based on CPI. The council provided direction of assignment terms with a 30 to 60-day notice of assignment, plus an additional fee for that. Sublease terms with a 30 to 60-day notice of sublease and an additional fee on that. At the end of the term, there will be language included that gives the city right to reversion of the buildings. However, the council did discuss that terms could be renegotiated at that time if necessary. So this evening, council direction is needed to determine 3 major key points: the lease rate, assignment fee, and sublease fee for the extension of the expiring ground leases. So I do have just a few slides walking you through what's in the agenda packet. So starting with ground lease rate, Mr. Rod Woodbury, the counsel for several of the tenants, had proposed the tenant's proposal at previous council meetings, which was going from 40 cents per square foot annually to 55 cents per square foot annually, and a one-time $4.50 per square foot extension fee. Each ground lease does have varying rates for their ground lease currently, ranging from 40 cents per square foot up to $1.36 per square foot, which I'll show you on the next slide. I did calculate the percentage change of 40 cents to 55 cents, and that does equate to 37.5%. And a proportionate increase of 37.5% is an option for you this evening, but that would also have the acceptance of the proposal for the $4.50 per square foot one-time extension fee. And on this next slide, which you have in front of you, shows all of the different hangar groups governed by their pertinent agreements. The different hangars have varying square footage, and then their lease rate is the next column after that. And we have their current monthly rent, the number of hangars in each group. If you apply the 37.5% increase to those rates, that is an option. Then we have the $4.50 per square foot one-time extension fee, the proposed monthly rent, and then the difference in what they're paying now, which ranges from $17.65 up to about $57. The $203 is the Bureau of Reclamation's hangar that they rent, ground lease that they have. So moving on to assignment fee, the direction that was provided to staff is that we wanted a fee for assignment and to allow assignment. So one option for you is to determine the assignment fee on the percentage of the sale price based on the term remaining on the ground lease agreement. The cost is the percentage, or $250, whichever is greater, and the fee would be paid by the assigner or seller of the unit. So it would be a 20% fee if there's a remaining term of 10 years or more, 15% if the remaining term's 5 years but less than 10 years, and 10% if the remaining term is less than 5 years as an option for you this evening. And the last item that is before you for direction this evening is sublease terms. Tenants may appreciate being able to sublease, which was mentioned in the previous meeting. So an option for you this evening is a minimum of $100 a month or 25% of the total monthly rent under the sublease, less the ground lease rent payable to the city. So that would be determined when a sublease is entered into and then added to the lessee's monthly lease bill. And that would be the 25% difference between the then current ground lease rent minus the sublease rent received. And I did want to briefly go over some projects that we have on the horizon at the airport. These are financial year 24 FAA funded grant projects, and these would still be able to move forward if we received the revenue from this option for you. So the Taxiway Bravo reconstruction, the Precision replacement and associated electrical upgrades, rehabilitation of the hangar taxi lanes and vehicle access gate and road, and then the air traffic control tower design. All of those do have city match, which we'll be able to fulfill currently. So the FY25 projects, we have the construction of the air traffic control tower, the north tie-down apron parking shade structures, the wash rack design and construction, which is somewhere where people can take and wash their plane, and then the airport layout plan update with narrative. And several of these projects are possible because of the bipartisan infrastructure laws grant, and it lowered the match to 10%. However, I am here to help facilitate and answer any questions you may have.
I need to have disclosures made at this time if needed. Councilwoman Jorgensen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to disclose that pursuant to NRS 281A, I have a commitment in a private capacity with one of the tenants impacted by this matter, Mr. Kyle Larson. My husband and I share ownership of a limited liability company with Mr. Larson. This LLC owns an airplane that is stored in Mr. Larson's hangar that is subject to one of the ground leases being discussed, and thus I have a pecuniary interest in this ground lease. Nevertheless, I've been advised by the city attorney that Nevada ethic law favors the right of a public officer to perform the duties for which the public officer was elected. And because this hangar lease would not be impacted more or less than other leases being affected, Nevada law favors and allows my participation in action on the matter. I'd also like to point out as a further clarification that I did ask the Nevada Commission on Ethics, had a finding come back that stated that yes, I could. So I've crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, and contrary to what was said in the newspaper, this LLC does not own the hangar together. Neither myself nor my husband own the hangar. So just a clarification. Thank you.
Short answer, you'll be voting.
It seems like that, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or observations? Or any, because we haven't had any others right now. So who would like to ask any questions of the city manager?
I'd just like to clarify the fact that there are substantial cash reserves, not only the reserves that we have as part of the fund reserves, but also additional cash that we've received over the years from the pandemic funding, right?
Correct. So the actual CARES Act funds have been spent. However, the funding that was committed for the items that were spent with the CARES Act funds are currently in cash reserves. So that's to fund things like the fuel farm and our match for several of those FAA projects.
Right, and that was my point, was that, to clarify, we have the matching funds currently. Now, they'll be drawn down over, a number of 5 years or so, but these projects are not in jeopardy of being canceled due to lack of funds, regardless of our vote on the hangar prices this evening, right?
Not for financial year 24 or 25.
Which are the only projects we have planned, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Go ahead.
I do have a question. I know that the Nevada, I'm just kind of trying to find it, aviation fund, they just said that they had $1 million for this year and $1 million for next year. And I know, Marissa, that you had put in your little letter what you were going to ask for funding for from that amount of money. Could you ask for other things?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Marissa Dew, the airport manager. The trust fund for aviation, it's not they base off all the airports in Nevada that can request funding from, or that get funding from the FAA that would be eligible for projects, and it's tried to be split up across the state. The $1 million that was already allocated for this year is spent, and so next year we would have the opportunity to request for funds reimbursed on projects that we have upcoming.
Did we request any this year?
There was, yes, for the runway rehabilitation of 1533, that project.
And did we receive funds for that?
Once the project closes out, then we get reimbursed our match amount that
Is
we had to pay.
there a limit set on what we can ask for from that?
There's not a limit, but they do try to give that proportionately across all the airports.
So sky's the limit and then see what we get?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions, observations?
Going right into it?
Yeah, we're moving.
Me again. So if we're going right into it, I just want to talk about that there's been a lot discussed about the hangars for years now. This is an ongoing discussion, and rightfully so. And it's been a good discussion, and I think we made a lot of good decisions last meeting. We just haven't made the financial decisions yet, which are highly important to be made. Again, I just want to reiterate that, yes, this is a piece of the funding picture for the airport, but this is not the complete funding picture. As has been stated, we have monies in reserve right now. I think when I talked to you, you said until 27. Right? Fiscal year 27, our reserves would still be.
When I modeled out the configuration you were requesting.
Okay, so that then we would still be good till then. So I just think when we look at this, we have to look at the complete picture. When we look at the airport, this is a portion of it. And we have to remind ourselves this isn't the solution for every good and bad thing that's ever going on out there. We have expenditures and we have revenue. And both of those have to balance somehow. And if they don't, then we have to take a hot look at it and make sure that it does. To proceed forward now, I know there's a couple concerns that we've talked about. One is that we make sure that we have value added. When the gentleman from the FAA was here, I did ask again, I will reiterate this, what value added meant, if he had a formula and or definition that the FAA had in place that they could give so that we would know how to go about that in a way that would make sure that they didn't come back and say we didn't have value added. So at which he said, you just have to show that you've added value. It's not how much value, there's not a percentage associated with what value is, basically. It's a decision to be made up here tonight on what we believe value is, and if we have added value on top of what we currently have, any added value then shows that we have added value. for that part. The other thing that I think that we need to look at when we extend the leases is making sure that we remember that there were 10 airports that were surveyed. And these were comparable airports. These were ones that were modeled similar to ours or functioning similar to ours, in which our ground lease rates were at the high end already. So with the current hangar owners even being willing to go above that and add a $4.50 extension, one-time extension rate, possibly bringing out the lower end even to 77 cents or higher, that says to me that's almost double even already the high end of what a ground lease is, which is very generous in my mind. So I just wanted to reiterate, point those facts out again as we're having this discussion. I appreciate that you equated that to 37%. However, there is no percentage specifically that we have to do. That was just a number that was thrown out there. So I appreciate that, but just a reminder for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Probably a good time for me to say I think we have enough information, and I'm not going to ask for more information in this meeting from outside of what we've been presented, as we have had the opportunity to have a lot of this information. And have you, Mr. City Manager, have you had, at this point, having been out there talking to people, have had positive or negative feedback from the users of the airport or the investors of the airport or the people who care about this, that because this has been out there in the public, has it not, the propositions that you're coming up with?
Correct. So I did receive some communications from a few of the tenants out there, and spoke with them over the past week and a half, different times, and just kind of detailed what had happened at the last meeting and where we were looking at going forward. And they were very excited about the leases being extended. And I did go over kind of what we were looking at this evening, and they were very excited. So
Thank you. And so if I look at A, we have an A, B, and C on this. So let's just deal with A, discussion and direction to determine the lease rate and extension terms. So let's focus on that. Is there anything that is different than the 37.5% increase with the $4.50 one-time per square foot? Is there question or concerns or agreements with, or where do we have with that?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I have a question I'd like addressed again, either by Mr. Tedder and or our city attorney. Let's again clarify the origins of this lease extension fee, and that value added concept. So if we could just kind of revisit that, lay that all out there, and have that understood for this conversation one more time.
So the value added concept. So originally the hangars were developed and provided essentially a subsidized rate for their term to amortize their investment or whatever financing they may have obtained to construct the hangars. So at the end of the term, the way that it's been described from our consultant and the FAA representative, the city has to receive a value-added component for extension of the lease, since the city technically was entitled to the property itself at the end of the lease. So now that we know that we're extending, we just have to determine what that value added is, and ensure that there's no revenue diversion from the airport. And then the actual lease extension fee concept, that $4.50 extension fee was what was presented to the city from the Tenants Council.
So we feel, or it's the staff, but did you want to add anything? Okay. So it's the definitive opinion of staff that a lease extension or a value-added fee is essential to this conversation. Is that a
I
fair
believe it
statement?
is. It makes it more defensible on staff's side to clearly show, hey, there's the value. So I do think the extension fee is probably the most important piece of the puzzle on that.
The extension fee does help us to show the meeting of our obligations under the grant assurances. There's really two grant assurances at play here. It's self-sustainability, but also rights and powers. And it's important that because under the lease agreements, the airport property is airport property, and we have to maintain those rights and powers under those grant assurances. So that helps to show that value added and helps us to show that we are in compliance with our grant assurances.
That works for me, thanks.
Go ahead.
So would you say that that's value added to the airport fund or value added to each lease?
It's value added from the asset. So that's how it's been described to me from the FAA representative, that it's about the asset and not providing for revenue diversion of the airport.
Individual asset or asset as a whole?
I would say the individual leases are, I think the leases would be looked at individually. Now, these leases are.
You think who would look at them? I'm sorry. For the, I'm just asking about value added, so I'm just wondering.
Well, each
who would
lease
be
is its
looking
own
at each of those?
opportunity for a negotiation and contract. So each lease would be looked at independently.
Okay, you think the FAA would come and look at each lease to see if there's been value added to each lease?
Well, the way this would come before the FAA is if a Part 16 complaint were filed for economic discrimination, and if a lessee was treated, if there's issues, then at that point, I think the FAA would look at each transaction, because each lease is its own opportunity for negotiation, and so of course they're looked at separately.
So would, if you increased, say, 15 cents, would that be considered value added?
I can't really make that determination on what would be considered valuation, I think, or what would be considered value added. I think that's for this body to decide. But we're just looking at if there was a grant assurance compliance issue, that monetary value surely would qualify as value added.
So, since I'm here, I'm sorry. I know we talk a lot about it being fair and equitable, right? We don't want someone to come back and say we're not being treated fairly. We have everything from a ground lease out there from $1.36 currently to 40 cents. So not everyone's being treated equitable, I guess, is what you would say, right? So does it do us best to, because I've looked at this, right? And we've talked about this, looking at everyone and their leases, putting them all together, dividing it by the 111, and how much do they pay a square foot, and putting everyone on even footing. So that doesn't happen.
Yes, each lease was entered into at different time periods, so that relates to the appraisal of the land at the time. And then they had CPI escalators throughout, so the ones that are priced the highest were done in 2011 versus the ones that have been through their 30-year term.
I'll ask a naive question. The ground lease extension is equitable on everybody for each and every lease extension, correct?
That's my opinion. If everyone is given the same increase and fee, definitely.
And then we look at the ground, and the ground is worth more than it used to be, simply because we've built an airport around all of those opportunities. And this money, whatever it is that we do, doesn't come to us. It stays in the airport. And so any money that we get stays in the airport and builds up the airport and all the things that we want to do and make it available to our citizens and those other people who want a place to park a plane. So intuitively, it's worth more now than it was 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So there's two issues. The ground lease, which you're proposing would be equitable to everybody for, in essence, the same piece of ground. And then the rate would be separate and distinct from that as to a equitable percentage, but based on where they're coming from. So percentage of $100 at 37.5 is going to be less than $500. And so that would continue to have the lease payment, in essence, be based on two things. One is an equitable form, and one is based on what it was and what it is as it has increased in value, the ground. I mean, we're sensitive about ground now. Is that somewhat accurate?
Yes, sir.
So go ahead.
I just want to say, I was struggling with the 136 also because I was thinking everybody should be equal. But what happened was, and correct me if I'm not saying this correctly, is those T-hangers out there, that particular little group, they're all at that higher rate. And when they appraised the ground at the time that they signed their lease, it was at a higher rate. And so that's why they're all paying a higher rate than everybody else. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that's why we see the difference in there. So that's what they have agreed to. And I think it's a smaller piece of ground, isn't it, most normally?
Most of them are 1,092 square feet. Yeah.
So usually as you go down in size, you do have to pay more. So it kind of made sense to me that the T-hangers are at that rate. And so we're really not discriminating against everybody else, in my opinion. That's it.
Comments? Questions?
Mr.
Well,
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you, so I'll
Go ahead.
defer. Well, I was just gonna, ask your direction that if we're done asking questions, to bring it back up to the dais and to start off with ground lease rate and extension fee conversation first. So that's all I was asking of you.
That's where we're at. So we have to decide what let's just say the extension term. Do we have comfort level with the $450 per square foot extension fee? Let me just say it that way.
I don't.
What do you feel comfortable
I'd
with?
like to make a proposal for conversation, please.
Okay.
And it goes a little more in depth than just a yes or a no for an extension fee or a dollar. So if you'll bear with me, of course we have the terms of the lease as well to hammer out, but as I did some math based on the packet of the 111 hangars, as we can see on the pages here in that staff report, if we tally up each of the cost per square foot, multiply it out by the number of hangars that pay that, and then, divide by 111 hangars, the average cost, if they were all on the same page today, the average cost is 59 cents. So, hypothetically, if every one of the 111 hangars paid 59 cents a square foot, that would bring in the exact dollar value today that we're currently getting with everybody on the different rates that they're on. So, statement number one.
That's your extent,
Well, no, that relates to my opinion on the rate extension fee. I just wanted to lay that down as an agreeable fact.
I don't understand. So are you talking about the lease rate? Is that what you're
So the ground lease rate on page 425 and 426, they listed out, staff listed out each of the groups of hangars, when they're expiring, and how many hangars pay how much per, for example, on the first group, September 27th, 2023, there are 7 hangars that are paying $1.34 per square foot, or hangar owners. There's one that is valued at $1.35 a square foot, and there's 4 at $1.36. So I took all of those in totality, all of them that are listed that expire between now and November of 2028, and just ran them all out based on those numbers and came up with that average. So that's my first statement. I think unless anybody is doing the math and sees something different than I put on my calculator, I think we can state that as fact. And so if everybody who had a hangar was paying 59 cents a square foot, who's listed on this staff report, we would be recovering the exact amount of dollars that we're recovering today, just everybody on the same rate rather than a different rate. So that's my statement number one.
Is that lease rate, are you saying?
That's the ground lease rate.
Instead of 55 cents, you're saying 59?
That's the average. Okay. If we took all of the current ground leases and extrapolated it all out, divided it by 111, that's the average. So, in the proposal from the representative, there was a stated agreement that those who were at 40 cents, and I'd like to point out that the conversation that we've had to this point has focused on 40 cents a square foot. We really hadn't considered in any of the presentations the numerous hangar owners that are paying substantially more than 40 cents a square foot. They basically have been left out of the conversation thus far, and I think we need to bring them into the conversation tonight. So the group that had had the presentation said they were comfortable going up to 55 cents. Is 55 cents the right number? 55 cents a square foot, in addition to the $4.50 of the hangar extension fee. And so that really had nothing to do with others that pay a different rate. So again, we need to bring them into our conversation. And is that whole formula equitable to the remaining hangar owners is the question. My opinion is no. We need to dive a little deeper in. So my comment, coming a little bit more into focus, would be if we're at 59 cents a square foot average today, and that's bringing in all the money that we're currently receiving. And if we want to add, as a group, some percentage of an increase, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% increase to the current amount of money we're receiving to help fund some of these projects that have grant requests to meet our matching part and not dig too deep into our cash from the CARES Act and stretch that out a little longer. We could decide whatever that percentage is, right? Well, we feel we need to bump up our general aviation. I appreciate the comments by Councilmember Jorgensen that the GA income is only a small part of the picture of the entire part of the airport income. And we don't need to, really feel like we're solving all financial issues at the airport with just GA. So I really appreciate that, and I want us to kind of stay focused on that too. So I would say I'd love to see everybody at the same price per square foot for simplification, for fairness, for equity, for our hangar owners. But how do we bring some up and some down and have that fair? Well, I'll throw something out there and we can have the conversation. If we feel, and I just put a number here, if we add 25% to the 59 cents average cost, that's 73.75 cents a square foot, round up to 74 cents. Now that's a substantial increase for those that are paying 40 cents a square foot. But it's a substantial decrease for those that are paying $1.34, $1.35, $1.36, et cetera. So how do we reconcile that? That would give the airport 25% more income from the general aviation hangars, and certainly would, I think, help the airport to maintain its solvency in the grant matching funds and do the projects that that we need to do. Again, not solving all of the issues with the GA income, but adding that to the puzzle. And I would suggest if we choose to do that, particularly the impact on those that are paying 40 cents a square foot currently, that's a substantial increase for them. I didn't do the math on that, but it's close to a 70% increase or so for those who are at 40 cents a square foot. But it's a big drop for those others. So I would say if we choose, or I am actually proposing, that we add a percentage to 59 cents a square foot, whatever we think we need to add to the GA income. I'll say 25%. We can lower it, raise it, whatever the council decides. I just did the math at 25%, so 74 cents a square foot for everybody. If your price goes up, there is no lease extension fee, because the value added is the fact that they're paying a substantial amount for another lease term, 10 years plus another 10 or whatever we choose to do. And if your price goes down, that you do pay a lease extension fee. But the way we come to that value is you take what you're currently paying, $1.36, let's take that as an example, subtract the 74 cents a square foot that I'm proposing we move them to, and that's 62 cents. I would propose that the difference between what they're currently paying, the higher rate, from the 74 cents, in this case 62 cents a square foot, is that hangar owner's lease extension fee, which adds value. And we can either say that's due upon lease extension or a 6-month payment term, whatever. I think that keeps it at a very manageable dollar amount, not an undue burden on the hangar owners who would have that fee. But we also offer a time to pay it back, and so it's not $4,500 or $5,000. It's several hundred or maybe 1,000. So that's my proposal for discussion for these first two items. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Steve, are you saying for the value added, the 450, what was your proposal there? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I'm proposing that we don't have the $4.50 a square foot a lease extension fee as the template, that we just wipe that off our conversation.
Okay.
And those whose rates go up, 0 lease extension fee. Those whose rates go down, subtract their current payment from the proposal I just gave, which is 74 cents, and that number is their per square foot lease extension fee for value added. So that's, I'm going to let the group have the conversation. I'm throwing that on the wall.
I just wanted to understand that. Yes, thank you.
Can I get a dollar amount on what one of those extension rates would look like? I'm sorry.
Well,
You've
if
got
we-
your little calculator, right?
Yeah, if we just, multiply out, we'll do 1,082? Is that one of the?
Yeah, it's right here, 1,090.
Yeah, 1,080, 1,092 is a good one.
1,092 times 62 cents is $677.04.
Would be their
Per
extension.
year.
Would be their lease extension fee that I'm proposing in
One
that
time.
formula.
One time. Not per year, one time extension fee. You
So
know what?
Councilmember Walton, if I may, I'm sorry. My spreadsheet calculates out each hangar by its square feet. So the actual break-even point is 65 cents, not 59.
Okay.
Just looking at that.
Thank you
other
for
way
the
we could
correction, I'll
lose
take that, yeah. And we can go from there,
65.
65. All right, so we can, I'm not sure what I missed in there, but clearly my math differed from yours, but that's not that far off. It's 6 cents off the 59, but anyway, that's up for the conversation. I'm putting that on the wall, see what sticks.
I did the same computations, actually have this nice little sheet here that I did them on and came out with 59 cents myself, so I'm not sure how that differed. I like what I hear from you in that I would like to see, then we have the equity of each of the leaseholders, and I think that that's a great idea. However, I, along with you, believe that if we increase this already, so 65 cents, even if we say for the sake of city manager, your number, and we increase it even up to 74 cents or whatever, that's still double what a ground lease rate is on those 10 airports. And we understand that, right? Because we've got to keep perspective on that, is still double what any other improved land rate is doing right now, so that we know that. So I like the idea of the up and the down, the one-time fee at the difference. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I could see that as also being the benefit there. So I actually like what you are saying. Not that I'm saying it as a surprise.
Are you sure? No, I can get,
It sounded like that, sorry.
I can get behind that as well. Yeah. Seems very equitable, and there's the bonus added with not paying, not having the smaller group, or the cheaper of the square footage not pay it, and then having the ones that are dropping pay it. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I can get on board with that too, but I have one question, Sherry. You just said a one-time fee. What do you mean by a one-time fee?
That means that $670 that they would be assessed for their extension fee would only be one time. It wouldn't be every year that they'd be paying the $700 or $600 and plus dollars. It'd be one time, and then they'd be at the going rate.
So we're proposing that they pay 74 cents a square foot for the ground lease and $650 for a one-time fee for...
Well, it's dependent, again, like Councilman Walton stated, it will be those that are coming down to 74 cents. Anyone who was under 74 cents will now be going up. For instance, 40 will be going up 34 cents.
Okay.
So it will be for those coming down, and it will be put per square foot, or difference of it coming down per square foot, right? Is that how you did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So only the people that are paying less would be paid the $650
One-time
one-time
fee. Right.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I understand that. I can go for that too.
And that amount differs based on what they're currently paying. So some are paying $1.34, some are $1.35. And so, we just subtract what they're currently paying, or subtract the proposal that I threw out there, 74, but that could change, from what they're currently paying, and then that is their per square foot, one-time lease extension fee to get our value added, right? And to keep it manageable and a win-win,
Yeah,
hopefully.
and I like the idea that everybody's paying the same fee. And that is kind of what they stress there, is that everybody pay the same fee. So I can be on board with that.
Okay, so what I'm concerned about, and the concern probably has been addressed, when we run those numbers, are when at the end of the calculation, what are we making now? When I say making, what are we doing to bring money in? And is that amount going up or going down?
It's actually going up because we were adding a 25% to the current, so the average, right? If the average is 59 cents and or 65 as said, and we add a percentage to that, that means they'll be paying that percentage higher. 25% is a quarter higher than what they're paying. I mean, that's significant. It's also, again, double, and we will be the outlier for every airport comparable to us because we are already the outlier for what we're charging. So that would give us a 25% larger input of what we're having now from the monies.
Just point of clarification, the 25% increase would be for a good number of the hangars, but then there's some that would be decreasing, so it wouldn't equate necessarily to a 25% increase in revenue. It may be less, it may be more. We'd have to run the numbers. I just want to make it, because of the different square footages and the different numbers of hangars, we just would have to run the numbers in the spreadsheet to determine again, it could be more revenue, but it wouldn't be exactly 25% more revenue.
But it puts them all on equal footing, right?
Yes, it would treat all of the lessees, it would make the rates equal.
Yeah, so for the first year, it's 20%, and then it does increase a little bit from there. So the first year, it's almost 5,000 in additional revenue. The next year, it's 8,300, 8,400. Eventually, you get to 2028, and that is 34,000. On that $4.50 square foot one-time fee, it was, I think, over through 2028, it was about 914,000.
Noted. Thank you. And also, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add that I think as is typically understood, and it's in this, proposal for us to discuss, but a CPI annual increase. So, that would be written into this for, the duration of the lease. And look, I'm not suggesting we need to go up 5, 10, 20%. I think we need to discuss, because when as the CPI increases, the value taken in or the money's taken in is going to increase anyway. So do we need to with this lease renewal conversation start off higher than we are today necessarily? No, I don't think so. Maybe we just decide, run the numbers, maybe a motion might sound something like exactly have our finance department run the numbers, what exactly our income is, find that average, put everybody at that average, and just have the CPI take care of the rest of it. Except the one-time lease extension fee for those with that different amount from what they're currently paying to what the average would be. And that would not be so specific that our hands are tied, but that would be specific enough for staff to just come up with the correct numbers and then run the leases.
Do you believe that would be sufficient direction to compute that? And then at the last meeting, the council did provide direction for a basement of 2, ceiling of 6% CPI per year.
Now, if we gave you that direction, here's my question. Does that place the price at whatever the average is? Is that what you're saying?
I think what Mr. Tedder was saying is we come up with the average, we set that as the rate, and our direction is for the CPI annual increase, it's just between 2 and 6%.
With no added increase to whatever the average is, as like the 25% that you talked about.
Yeah,
So it just is
don't
whatever
even add
the
it.
average is, that's what everyone will pay, and then.
And then the CPI takes care of the increases. Right.
Correct. And then at the meeting that the leases come to you, you would be able to see that rate on each lease. So, yeah.
So it would not delay the process of bringing the leases to us?
I don't think so.
I'm good with that.
So, Councilman Walton, would you like to clarify for everybody that the people who are paying less now won't be shocked with paying more? What is their advantage in the plan?
Well, you could say that, and you know, the values are going to vary based on how much you're paying and how much your rate's going to go up from what you're currently paying to what the average is determined. That essentially equates to a lease extension fee over the duration of their new lease. So they get the value of the lease extension. They may end up paying more over the life of the lease than those that are coming down and only are going to pay $677 or whatever it might be for the one time. So if we want to have that conversation to clarify that, you know, there's some accommodation different, but other than that, it represents their ability to extend the lease.
Yeah, my concern is I don't want to put somebody out.
With that comment, I just wanted to say that before we were looking at the 55 cent and then doing the 450, if you do the math on that, that ended up being about 77.5 over the lifetime of it. So if we are just talking to them about just let's say the number comes out at 65% right now, at 65 cents, sorry, got a percent there, that's less than what it would have been with the extension rate that they would have been paying. So I actually think it's a win-win for both. And I think it's a good way to solve not being equitable at the airport if we're worried about that in our grant assurance, or our grants and the assurances that we agreed on. I think it's a win-win, to be honest.
How long do we have to give staff in order to be able to compute this, put it on paper, or electronically, in order to be able to vote on something that has some import long-term?
Well, Mayor, you could provide direction tonight for us to verify that average, and then we can just move forward with drafting the leases, and then it wouldn't need to come back. You would see that number on the leases when they come before you. And right now, I'm looking at what this would do to people's payments. The smallest increase is $15.77, so their payment goes from $86 a month to $102 a month. The highest increase is about $93, going from $107 a month to $200 a month, and then the smallest decrease is $54.31, and the largest decrease, which is actually the Bureau of Reclamation, is $245 decrease. That's not including any of the special fee. That's just charging the 74 cents.
And then how do the new leases fit into that? They just go on to the same?
Yes, so they would be amended, restated leases that our city attorney would draft, and that would just be one of the terms in the lease.
Go ahead.
And just a point of clarification for you and for all of us is that leases that are under 60 cents, that's 81% of our leases are under 60 cents or lower, and only 19% are above that. So the majority of the hangar owners will be paying more. So we're not looking at decreasing a majority of the hangar owners. It's actually just meeting at the average, and it's actually going to be 19%.
Questions, observations? Sounds like you're going to make a motion.
So I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we direct staff to determine among the 111 ground leases what the average rate would be to equate to exactly the amount of income we're bringing in right now. And then with that number, put every hangar owner who's interested in doing a lease renewal at that average rate. Anybody whose rate goes up, there is no lease extension fee. Anybody whose rate goes down, we take their current rate per square foot, subtract the new rate per square foot, whatever that average is determined by finance, and that's their price per square foot, one-time lease extension fee. And if that needs to be in the form of a motion, then so be it.
Before you do that, then where are we standing with vis-a-vis the projects that we need to do? This, what you're proposing, will keep it as it is now. Do we need more money than what we're making now?
Currently, with the money we have in our cash balance, we can complete the projects for financial year 24 and 25. And I do want to mention there are the two other pieces of information we'd like direction on tonight: the subleasing fee and assignment fee.
Yeah, thank you. We'll bite the rest of the elephant in a minute. With that, Mr. Mayor, if I could, with that language, add that we add the annual increase tied to the CPI with a basement of 2% and a cap of 6%. And that would take effect in, as the lease is written in the normal terms that CPIs are calculated. I don't know what that currently is, but I'm sure there's already language for us to use for that,
So, could you restate your motion then?
All right, I'll cut it down to a little more succinct. Have staff find the average cost per hangar that equates to the current income that we have total from the 111 ground leases in GA. And offer a lease renewal to every one of those 111 hangar owners at that rate. Those whose rates go up, there is no lease extension fee. Those whose rates go down, there's a lease extension fee based on that formula of their current rate minus the proposed rate. That's their one-time price per square foot lease extension fee with the CPI increase of 2 to 6%.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. We'll take Councilwoman Booth's second. And is there discussion? It's a dead horse. A live bill. So those who, if there's no discussion, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. And that gets us through A. And now under 20B on the assignment rate. Discussion and direction to staff on determining assignment rate if you're going to be a leaseholder and if you assign it, should there, or what is the fee that we should expect as a city?
I don't have anything other than what staff has given us. I don't know that we need to try and turn that into a money-making endeavor. So whatever nominal, administrative fee, I'm fine to support. So.
Yeah, I'm fine with the staff's recommendation for the assignment fee.
Which is that?
Which is that $250 or the percentage of the sale.
Yeah, it's a sliding scale based on how many years are remaining in the term on the lease.
Is that a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to for staff to or direct staff to their recommendation on the assessment fee. Is that enough?
Question is, do we want the 250 or the sliding scale percentage?
It says whichever is greater.
Is that so we want to just go with that? Great. I'll second that.
Any Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Unanimous, thank you. And now on C, discussion and direction determining subleasing terms. And staff, what has staff recommended?
So we looked at industry best practices across different leases and found that several were at a minimum of $100 a month or 25% of the monthly rent payable to the city. So that would be determined when a sublease is entered into and then added to the lessee's monthly lease bill. And the 25% would be the difference between their then current ground lease rent minus the sublease rent received. So that's, it would be a percentage. So depending on what they're charging for the sublease.
Go ahead.
How would you ascertain how much they're charging?
We would require a copy of the sublease.
I agree with this in that we are giving a very fair value now, and so that I don't think that 25% is excessive if you're subleasing, but.
Yeah, I'm not too hung up on the fee. My concern is general in that everything, all the conversations we've had from the dais and with the airport users is that this is a community airport. It's meant to support general aviation and to make it reasonable and reachable for those that want to engage in it. And so my concern is if we don't put some kind of a cap on the amount that can be charged as a sublease, it's going to prevent community members or make it unattainable financially for those who want to enter into a hangar and lease it at a fair market rate. If somebody has the corner on the market of a handful of the hangars, they can charge whatever price they want. Pretty soon, our goal of having this be a community airport and supporting general aviation suddenly twists and becomes somebody's money-making endeavor. And that's really not what I think our intent is for our airport. So I would like to see us consider direction to keep the sublease rate somewhere near fair market value for a hangar lease. And plus the city fee, whatever it is, say it's $25. That fair market value plus $25 so that the person who owns the hangar who's subleasing it out doesn't have to take their profit out of the city's fee. The lessee can do that. That's my concern. I really think there's validity in that. We see oftentimes when there's money to be made, a big investor comes in and gobbles up a bunch, and pretty soon they dictate the price. And I think that would change the dynamic of our airport beyond what I think our vision of it is. And so I'm proposing that we have that conversation, whatever we think is right.
I don't like the idea of capping if someone wants to rent it out for a certain amount, just because our hands are already there. Now we're just digging too deep, too much government involvement in that aspect, I think. I mean, if they're paying, say, $100 a month and they want to list it for $600 a month, right? If someone wants to pay that price, that should be okay. Now, if someone wants to rent one but can't afford it, then they can wait, for when more land gets available to be leased out, for a cheaper rate. But I don't think a cap should be set. And as far as the $100 or 25%, I think that's too much. I'm not really in favor of a fee just to rent it out. I mean, if we are, I'd say minimal amount of 10%. No, I just don't like the less the government's involved, the better.
If I can, Mr. Mayor, I agree with you in that concept 100%. I guess what I would ask is there the flavor for trying to maintain that character that has the potential to go if, we have the rates go up so high that now GA, having an airplane in a hangar is just, unreasonable. Is there anything we want to address that, just stay out of it entirely and let it run its course?
Yeah, I think if, they want to list it for an atrocious amount of money, then it's just going to sit empty, right? No one's going to rent it if the bar is set so high, the price is set so high, it'll just sit empty. And then, right, it'll drop to the fair market value of the property. That's just how I see it. If they want to put it on the market for a certain price and someone wants to rent it, well, so be it. If someone's there to pay that price, let them take it.
Councilwoman.
My concern with that is if, let's say you have to replace your hangar door, that's going to be an expense that you're going to need to recoup. So it's kind of hard to decide what expenses someone has in maintaining that hangar. Some are probably going to let the doors fall down around it possibly, but others would maintain it at a higher standard. And I agree with the fact that if they put it up too high, then they're not going to rent it. So I think that it will balance itself out and fair market will prevail. So I hate to see it. I don't mind having a fee for them doing that and maybe, like Matt said, maybe a 10% or 15% fee for renting it. But I don't know. I think that it'll balance itself out in fair market.
I can see both sides of the argument, also agreeing less government's more as we sit up here as the government. But also recognizing and going to ask the question, are there tenants that currently own large numbers of hangars?
I think our airport manager can answer that maybe, but from the list that I've seen, it didn't appear so.
Wondering also
shaking her
if to
head.
prevent something like that happening, where you have someone who comes in, as the example you said, and says, hey, I'll pay you this much money for your 20-year extension because I see I can get $600 for it and end up $500 in my pocket or whatever. Could we limit the number that one owner, so that it's not in excess of like 10 hangars? All of a sudden you come in, you own 10 of the hangars there. That's all I'm asking.
I don't think we'd be able to do that because at this juncture with extending these leases, they're ground leases, the individuals would have full control over the asset. They could assign it to whoever they want. They could, so if one person wanted to go and buy up all the hangars and then sublease them, there's really nothing we could do to stop that.
One thing to add, so the current hangars that the city owns, as of July this year, they are at $456 a month per square foot, but that is a gross lease. And then the appraisals that we did, the gross lease average was $571, but this would be a triple net, so $464. Maybe you could maybe cap the sublease. Just a thought.
Mr. Mayor, I am definitely not married to digging into this. If there's the sense on the dais that we leave it alone, I'm totally fine with that.
Thank you. I think it's wishful thinking that we would like to pretend that this is a local airport and we don't have a significant number of people who don't live in Boulder City using the airport. I think realistically, when we allow somebody to have a ground lease, I feel very uncomfortable saying, you can't do this and you can't do that. I think we would get into legal problems with trying to say, what your limitations are, who you can rent for, and if you keep it low, then it's only going to be us that does it. I don't think we can come anywhere near that. So I think the city And our airport has a responsibility to make sure whoever leases it keeps it appropriately. And so we have a need to make sure that we have our hook somewhere in that says, you owe us, the airport, something if you sublease it. I just think we have to have some kind of ability, and I don't think we can determine who that is, or, I think it's nice but I think the demand that we're going to have for people to come out to Boulder City, literally come out to Boulder City and use our airport, is going to increase. And I don't think that we can decide that, we can't say, no, you can't because you live somewhere else, whether it's a lease or a sublease. So I think we need to do something that allows the city to say, we need to know who it is that is leasing, and therefore, by so doing, we know that you owe us, as the permanent leasee of the ground, you owe us something every month to make sure that we know that somebody else is using that. And we just have a responsibility, I think, to keep track of our own airport. So I like the concept of having some minimum per month charge if somebody's going to sublease, that we know that it's being subleased.
What if we did a one-time administrative fee? Because, right, there'll have to be new access cards printed or made for the subleaser and other stuff, correct?
That's true. So typically, a lot of times we find out about subleases when people need to come get the access cards. So it could work. However, if a new sublease comes up, then perhaps you wouldn't really know if someone new came in and was using the same access card. So I don't know.
Can we put in there like some kind of like 2-week notice of a new subleaser? And
the current leases do require notice of sublease, and so that has occasionally been problematic, not being notified.
Is there a fee for that sublease? And
Not currently.
And doing the paperwork, so maybe doing a $250 sublease fee whenever somebody new subleases, or is that too high? I mean, I think your time and energy with $250 would be good.
is there, as it is now, like if someone subleases it, they have, they're not allowed to use the owner's access cards and stuff like that?
No.
No, okay.
So the owner wants to keep keys as well.
Well, yeah,
to get
but
in.
that's, the subleaser has to have his own, not be able to use.
Correct. We issue cards to any person that is a user.
So
I do, from my notes from the last meeting, I do believe the tenant's proposal was $50 a month as a sublease fee. Just wanted to put that out there.
I mean, I'm comfortable with that. My other question would be, can a subleaser sublease?
A sublease.
I don't, no, not really, because you have to have an aircraft. So, well, I don't know why that would occur, but I suppose it's not allowed.
Well, I would prefer not to have a sublease.
Couldn't we write that into our lease that there's no subletting, letting?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Couple observations on that. If the hangar owner lives in whatever, another state, another city, wherever, and they're subleasing to somebody, and we know of the sublease. I'm not necessarily, I think administratively, a monthly fee kind of sounds like a pain in the neck. I think a one-time sublease fee, it's done. They don't have to keep writing a check to, City of Boulder City, and we don't have to keep receiving and depositing them, my 2 cents. But if I'm subleasing with a hangar that fits 2 aircraft, and somebody approaches me and says, "Hey, Steve, I see you have a high wing. I've got a low wing. We can fit both of them in there. Can I pay you a couple $100 a month?" I don't see a problem with that. And I don't think the city needs to get into the layers of that either. I think the one-time sublease fee from the owner, notifying us, and the one-time check, so it's not this constant washing machine of sublease payments and so forth, might be administratively easier and more amenable to people to find other aircraft folks who want to share a sublease. Again, it comes down to time and money for aviation, and if we can defray that cost a little bit with somebody else sharing that sublease with us, it's beneficial.
Well, if we had a $50 a month sublease fee, which comes to $600, and we're talking about a $250 sublease one time, where does that sit?
Can I ask one question, Steve, of what you just said in there that will go along with what Mayor Hardy said? So if you have 2 planes in a hangar, do we need to know who those 2 planes are? I mean, is that important for the airport to know who's inside of a hangar?
Well, they're going to know because they have to get a pass to get in, a pass card. So everybody that gets onto that airport property, according to the proper guidelines, staff knows about it. The airport manager knows. So unless people are doing what they shouldn't, sharing a card or something like that, but they'll already know because that person's going to demonstrate that they're sharing in a hangar and that they have an aircraft and that they go through the process to get access.
So
Is that a
maybe-
fair enough statement, Marissa?
Maybe there should be a fee for each cardholder of the 250 so that if you have 2 planes in one hangar, they're each paying, and then that way staff can know who's in there and pay for their expenses to prepare that key and put them on.
There are already fees for making the pass card, right? You have your,
Oh, is there a fee on that
yeah,
too?
there's already. So that's
Okay,
kind of covered
okay,
already.
okay.
Yeah, and again, for my 2 cents, I just think administratively, one-time sublease, and somebody may say, yeah, I've got an aircraft and they're there for a year, and then they're not. And I don't know that we need to keep getting into administratively that coming and going. We know the one subleasee, everybody has to get a card, they pay the fees for that card, and I think it's simpler.
I would be good with that. I thought maybe you had to know who was in those hangars.
Well, I'm asking the same question more pointedly. When you use the card, does that mean that you in the airport know that that plane is in that hangar specifically? Or that they just went in?
The card is for human and vehicle access to the airport.
Right. It doesn't tell you which hangar you go into.
No.
But, I mean, if there were a fire, let's just pretend there was a fire. Do you want to know what hangar has somebody in it?
Of course.
I mean, I would want to know. So I don't think the card access is going to tell you where the plane is. Did I miss something?
Mr. Mayor, if I can chime in, that currently the practice, you get your hangar, you get your key card, you come in, and in the event of an emergency, nobody knows if somebody's there or not currently. And I don't know that that's necessarily a concern for the sublease issue, honestly. People come and go all times of the day and night for various, maintenance reasons, temperature, fly it out at night or in the morning, whatever. The fact that airport staff wouldn't necessarily know when somebody came into the XYZ hangar, that's currently not even known. So I don't think we need to create an issue that doesn't exist.
Okay, so we're looking for a one-time fee.
So $50 a month would equate to $600 a year. So how about a one-time fee of $500?
For just.
Is that a motion?
I think that's too high.
Well, if they're going to pay $600 a year, they're saving a ton of money.
And can I ask clarification on that?
Yeah.
That would be per new sublessee. So if you had someone for 3 years and then have another person come in after that, they would, when they get their set up, they would pay the fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
I mean, is that too high? What's the?
Again, I don't know that we need to turn everything into a money-making venture. Honestly, to me, it's administrative, and it's for the airport to know that we have a sub-lessee going on in that arrangement. A token fee, honestly, is just for administrative, for them putting in their paperwork. Again, I'll reiterate, I don't agree that a monthly fee is going to make life easy or better down there. I think a one-time fee is much simpler, and honestly, I don't think it needs to be much more than what may be equivalent to the access card fee we already have. I don't remember what that is, but something similar to that. Well,
It's $25 a card is what we charge for the,
yeah, so anyway, I think a one-time fee to make it simple, administrative for staff to know, to take notes, and to be done with it. And, we're not looking for the airport to get rich off of these sublease fees, so I'm more in favor of a nominal fee than anything.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't think, even though it was, how much is it a month and then into the year, I don't think we need to have it be that large. I think you could do 50 to 100 one-time fee and be good.
Make a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that there's a one-time sublease fee of $100. I don't know if there anything else needs to be added to that.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? One-time fee of $100 for a sublease.
Aye.
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 I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. So that has passed unanimously. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add some additional comments.
Nope, too late.
That didn't sound like the mayor's voice.
With great trepidation.
I'll try and be brief. On the staff discussion here that we have, there's time frames for, let me find the page, for the amount of notice, 30 to 60 days. I'd like to just see some language added in there that time frame can be waived upon mutual agreement. If somebody gets someone in there within 2 weeks, just go to the airport management office, and I don't know that we have to give a 30 to 60 day notice. That sounds like a long time that, might create an inconvenience for the owner
Just,
and the lessee.
Regarding the agenda items were limited to lease rate and extension terms, assignment terms, and subleasing terms.
So all the staff comments on this are not open for conversation?
As the agenda's item is written, really A, B, and C were focused on lease rate and extension terms and assignment and subleasing terms, but this is direction just on those items, and staff is still going to go back to the tenants and work out the lease agreement, and that's still going to come before council. So there's still opportunity to discuss all of the terms, but those are the items that we were seeking direction on for this.
Fair enough.
For this.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on then to item 21, I'm sorry. And
I'm back.
there you go.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm very excited about this item. This is the Teamsters Local 14 Supervisory Bargaining Unit collective bargaining agreement. The CBA for the Teamsters Local 14 expired, the supervisory employees expired June 30th, 2021. And for more than a year, myself, City Attorney, Administrative Services Director Bryce Bolt, and support staff diligently met with representatives from the Teamsters Local 14 Supervisory Bargaining Unit to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement. We worked to update the language in this agreement, and the negotiations occurred during a record time of inflation and during a national labor shortage. So the city and union have tentatively agreed to a proposal to extend the collective bargaining agreement with increases in the city's contribution toward health insurance, expanded time frame that informal grievances can be resolved, and expanded work out of class benefits, along with, of course, increased wages. So pursuant to NRS 288.153, any new extended modified collective bargaining agreement between a local government employer and a union must be approved at a public hearing. The chief executive officer of the local government shall report to you the fiscal impact of the agreement, which is as follows. The total financial impact of the 3-year agreement totals $316,179, and the breakdown for financial year 23, the wages increased by $43,010, with benefits including medical increasing $150 and a lump sum bonus of $26,180, totaling a $69,340 increased cost for financial year 23. Financial year 24 wages increased by $89,257, with benefits including medical increasing by $44,542, along with a lump sum bonus of $26,737, totaling $120,536 increased cost for financial year 24. And finally, financial year 25, the wages increased by $118,161, with benefits including medical increasing by $8,142, totaling a $126,303 increased cost for financial year 25. Funding does exist within the financial year 23 and 24 budget to cover this fiscal year's increase in salary and benefits, and subsequent years, which is financial year 25, will be accounted for through our next budget process, which we're getting ready to kick off fairly soon. And as you know, this is the 7th of 8 collective bargaining agreements that we've been able to successfully settle, so I'm very excited to present this to you tonight.
Thank you. Having heard that, we will open the public hearing here in the council chambers and open up the phone lines, 702-589-9629. Those in the audience will be welcome to come to the podium and comment if they so choose, or call in. And do we have any written?
No comments were offered on this item.
Thank you. We will wait a little bit in the public hearing. And nobody will be disappointed if there's no public. While we're waiting, I would like to say that I appreciate the process and the people involved with the process that brought this public hearing possible. So thank you. If there's nobody on the phone line, I will close the public hearing and accept a motion, Resolution 7683.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Unanimous. Thank you in the affirmative. Now move to item number 22, City Council appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. That will include one person who would be appointed to the rest of a term lasting 1 year, and 2 people on the 2 4-year terms, 1 4-year term each, and then non-voting members would be in a separate item. So I will notice that we have all of the people who have put their name in for the appointments for these, and we are very grateful for all the people who have been willing to serve on the Historic Preservation Committee and who serve on other committees. So we appreciate everybody putting their name in. So I will call for nominations first on to filling the 1-year appointment on the Historic Preservation Committee.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
I would nominate Denise Ashurst to fill the 1-year remaining term.
Are there any other nominations?
I will nominate Bryn for the 1 year.
Okay. So we have Denise Ashurst and Bryn DeLorean. And so we have 2 people being nominated, so we will have a vote. First off,
Mayor,
go ahead.
if there are no further nominations, you'll need a motion, second, and a vote to close the nominations.
Are there any other nominations for that 1-year appointment? Seeing none, then I can,
Hold on, Mayor.
I would like to nominate Krista May.
so we have 3 people being nominated for the 1-year appointment for the Council, Historic Preservation Council, and go ahead. Commission, thank you. So we will first take all those in favor of Denise Ashurst.
Mayor.
I move that we close
Oh,
the nominations
Okay.
and vote.
move that we close nominations.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to close nominations. Any opposed to that? Any discussion otherwise? Thank you. Nominations are closed.
You still need to actually call for the vote, I'm sorry.
I need to call for the vote. All those in favor, to call for the vote of closing the nominations. All those in favor of closing the nominations, please say aye before it turns to 8 o'clock.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you. So nominations that we are voting on then are Denise Ashurst and Bryn and Krista. And all those in favor of Denise, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That would,
Can I see, I heard, well, okay, thank you.
how many were there?
3.
3. That is a majority, so we don't need to do anything.
No, you still need to vote on the others.
And all those in favor of Bryn?
Aye.
And all those in favor of Krista?
Aye.
Okay, so we have 3 for Denise, 1 for Bryn, and 1 for Krista. Okay. And so Denise will be appointed to the Historic Preservation Commission. And then we will open nominations for the other 2 positions, 1 position at a time. And I would like to hear nominations for the 4-year appointment.
I'd like to nominate Dawn Wengert.
Dawn Wengert.
She's a 50-year resident, lives in the historic district, and also has received the award, Preservation Award.
Thank you. So Dawn Wengert has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
We need 2, don't we?
Nope. If there are no
One at a
other
time.
nominations, then it would be by acclamation and she would be appointed. So are there any other nominations besides Dawn Wengert for one of the 2 remaining appointments? If there are no other nominations, Dawn Wengert by acclamation is appointed. And I would now, did I close nominations?
You don't need to on that one. You can move on to the second.
So I would like to open up the remaining appointment for the voting members of the Historic Preservation Commission and need to have nominations for that position.
I'd like to nominate Hillary Brimhall.
Hillary Brimhall has been nominated. And are there any other nominations?
Nominate Krista May.
And Krista May has been nominated. And are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I will have somebody move to close nominations.
I'll move to close the nominations.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor of closing nominations say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Nominations are closed. And that will bring us to the last position that needs to be filled, requiring a majority vote. All those in favor of Hillary Brimhall say aye.
Aye.
And let's do raise of hands. 2, and those in favor of Krista May, raise your hand. And that was 3. And so Krista May has been elected. And we have now done it. So we now go to non-voting members. We have 2 positions for the 2 positions, and I will open up nominations for the 2 people, and I guess I don't have to do anything if everyone would just like to say.
Yes, there's currently 2 positions open for non-voting members, and we have 2 applicants. So if it's the council's desire to appoint both to that position, there can just be a motion to that.
I need a motion to appoint both people who have applied to the 2 positions.
I move to appoint both applications for the non-voting member.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The 2 non-voting members have been approved. And I would like to have the city manager do a report, however brief it may be.
Item 23 is the city manager's report, claims paid, and there is nothing of note to report. Moving on to item 24, the city manager's preliminary financial report, which is unaudited. I do want to mention that this item is tagged as preliminary as our finance team continues to work on year-end numbers, and they have also added a description at the bottom of each schedule that indicates any restrictions or other information on that fund. Other than that, everything is per usual. I'm here for any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you very much. And we will now go to public comment. All those who are in the chamber, come forward, please. And those that aren't here can call in the number.
Again, for the record, Thomas Memmer, thank you for approving the Teamster contract. They're my fellow brothers and sisters, and thank you for providing them with job security and labor peace for the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rod Woodbury. I just wanted to thank you for your vote, not only today, but in your deliberations in the past meetings on the airport issues. You've sifted through a lot of information, some of it relevant, a lot of it not relevant. You did what the citizens elected you to do, which was to be the ones that make the decision on these important issues. And you've had to be discerning and ask the right questions, and you came up with creative solutions. And you spent, I know all of you spent a lot of time trying to work through the issues and getting briefed by staff, talking to the airport community and doing your own homework. And so there's still a lot to be done. You know, the devil's in the details, and we have to come back with a contract. But just wanted to thank you for your time and attention to this.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have a public commenter on the phone. Public comment, go ahead.
You
Yes,
can come
good
up.
evening again. For the record, Fred Volz. Ensuring Boulder City does what it can to keep a dependable supply of water readily available for all who live and work here rises to a very high level of importance amidst the city government's responsibilities. It's most troubling that the city has failed to implement a comprehensive water conservation plan directed toward its own use, despite over 2 decades of consecutive drought years impacting our one water source, the Colorado River. We have no assurance the drought will not continue. Over 6 months ago, a promise was made by Councilman Walton to conduct a public workshop on water conservation. It has not happened despite the urgency to conserve water. We have one water-saving project identified and co-funded by SNWA. It replumbs the municipal golf course's irrigation system and removes turf that has been projected to save a minuscule 5% of the city's total government consumption. It does not take tens of millions of dollars just spent to create an impact. Why aren't 2 people from the Public Works Department tasked with inspecting every single city-operated irrigation system, testing them and what they're supposed to water for functionality, breaks, and broken sprinkler heads? We also need regular inspection on a proactive and ongoing basis to fix these leaks in over-irrigation situations. Why not have Nevada Department of Forestry create or build water basins around trees and shrubs so they do not regularly die for lack of water? The city could centrally control its various irrigation systems with Internet of Things technology, so irrigation does not happen on Sundays, windy days, or in the middle of hot days. In addition to any turf removal incentives offered by SNWA, why doesn't Boulder City offer incentives to cover largely the cost to homeowners and business owners? If the city has not identified ornamental turf that needs to be removed now, not in 2026, the lawn around the skateboard park, the lawn south of the new dog park, and the lawn between the 4 softball diamonds, all in Veterans Memorial Park, would be prime candidates. Another unnecessary ornamental turf expanse stretches almost a mile of US 93 headed towards Lake Mead and parallels the concrete flood control channel. Escalante Park, both across from City Hall and across from the police station, deserves to have its ornamental grass removed. The city athletic fields need conversion to artificial turf, and the city should further encourage Clark County School District to remove turf at its local campuses sooner, not later. We need action, not indifference towards Southern Nevada's ongoing water supply problems. Specific goals such as a completed and comprehensive water conservation plan no later than 90 days from today, with the city and other government entities targeting a 40% reduction of their 1 billion gallon annual consumption, are a start. I'd ask that these comments be added to the record. Thank you.
Thank you. And those who are here, please come forward. Do we have anyone else on the phone line? Okay, thank you.
Kurt Goodfellow, I would just like to thank each one of you for the work that you did and for your commitment to keeping the airport accessible and available and affordable, and to continue what the FAA has in mind for airports, which is to promote aviation. So I'm just really grateful for that. And I'd also like to thank the city manager, Tedder, for the listening meeting that you had. That made a big difference. And for those who attended that made a big difference for the airport users. I just wanted to thank you for that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other persons in for public comment? If there are none, we'll go to City Council report.
Mayor.
Oh, man.
I had 2 written comments.
Okay.
The first public comment was provided by Judith Hoskins. I implore the City Council to implement a comprehensive, functional, workable, and environmentally friendly plan for our city's water consumption. The city has expected the citizens of Boulder City to adhere to water consumption. At the same time, they have taken a lackluster approach to addressing their usage. It is high time the city takes this issue seriously before it is too late, and we all say, why didn't someone do something about this years ago? Yes, the lake is up today, but what happens next year or the year after? There are many ways that we can conserve. I don't need to list them. The city staff knows all too well what needs to happen, so let's pull up our bootstraps, get to work, and get this problem solved, or at least controlled. Please, the other was a note for me. The next comment was submitted by George Ree. The climate crisis and COVID reminds us that the unfamiliar is not the same as the improbable. For this reason, I recommend that Boulder City government assemble and implement a comprehensive water conservation plan. The imbalance between water supply and demand that we are experiencing is driven by increasing temperatures in the Colorado Basin, leading to decreased stream flow of the Colorado River, our main supply source. Increased temperatures are in turn caused by global greenhouse gas emissions that show no sign of leveling off. The future is uncertain. Ignoring this uncertainty magnifies the risks. Given that the forecast is probable continued drought, we would be well advised to decrease our water usage in anticipation of future cuts to our water supply. Politics is the art of the possible. I hope the city will lead by example on this issue. I have no further comments.
Any other comments here in the chambers? If not, I will then go to city council reports. Councilwoman Booth?
I want to thank everybody that put their applications in tonight for the Historical Committee. I was amazed at how many people were really interested, and I really do appreciate everybody that did do that. I also wanted to say a special shout out to Lexi Lagan. She made gold, and she's on her way to Chile, and so we'll have to all cheer her on. But she's a little gal that we've known since she was a child, and we've got to watch her grow up and see her. She is a women's air and sports pistol champion or gold medal winner, so congratulations, Lexi. And that's it for me.
Thank you. I just wanted to report that I will be attending the Nevada League of Cities Conference the next 2 days. It started tonight. Clearly, there was a conflict, but we will be attending the next 2 nights or next 2 days. Look forward to it. I think you're coming also, Mayor, right? And
No, I do want to add something.
and Councilman Fox will also be. And we will, one of the items is homelessness, and I'm looking forward to hearing how the North and surrounding communities also approach homelessness in their communities. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attended Convention and Visitors Authority meeting today. We heard some great reports from the various events coming to Las Vegas to bring in substantial economic impact, of which we are benefactors as well. I'll continue to beat that horse while I serve in this assignment. Notable, we heard today from Lieutenant Bell from the Metropolitan Police Department, and went over in a good summary, not giving away the police department's tactics and planning, but all of the efforts that they have in store for when the Super Bowl comes, and all of the social concerns that sometimes accompany large special events. The government has a special event risk assessment model that they put on events such as of national interest, and the Super Bowl is at the highest level, which means that the communities are eligible for federal funding, so that will be funneling through Clark County and supporting all the public safety efforts, and in addition to other officers that come from the state and federal level to help keep our communities safe during these special events. We received an airport update today, and the travelers that come from both international and domestic originating cities, and also the airlines that fly here, and there have been substantial increase in that. We have far surpassed the number of seats that are flying into Las Vegas from pre-pandemic levels, and adding new airport or airplane company services that have hit to otherwise unserved markets that are serving nonstop to Las Vegas. So great things are happening for the greater Las Vegas area and the visitation. I do believe that the public input promised by Councilmember Walton on water use was in relation to the reclamation options. And as I do recall, that occurred, if I'm not mistaken. And we did have a survey as well. So well done on having the public give us input on that. And we do appreciate the input. And I'll echo what was said by Councilmember Booth. All those that volunteer, not everybody in this case certainly gets an appointed position. And we don't want folks to feel rejected or turned away in a negative manner, that this wasn't the time for an appointment for them, and we appreciate their willingness to continue to engage with City Council and City staff. We appreciate that. That's my report for this evening.
Thank you. August 16th, I think it is, 7:30 in the morning, we'll unleash at the dog park. Those that haven't seen that place, it is beautiful. Kudos to our Parks and Rec. In fact, the swimming pool, cardboard boat races, the people who are in charge of the pool, that is really almost the heart of Boulder City. They've been doing a wonderful job keeping that place open and available for people of every kind and sort and ability. Likewise, Nevada League of Cities will have Miss Nevada attending it, and she was born in or raised in Boulder City, and so we have some claim to fame during the Nevada League of Cities that's happening over the next 2 to 3 days. And people who have been willing to serve are very impressive. I appreciate it, and not the least of which is my fellow council people who, with kindness and grace, are able to have discussions and being able to come to solutions together in the open, and I appreciate your service. Thank you all. With that, this meeting is adjourned.